Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching us. Welcome to another installment of Flyera, our 10th ever edition, mind you. Looking forward to bringing you another awesome episode today. Coming with me, as always, is my amazing co-host, the seasoned veteran, Jamey Baskow. Jamey, how are we doing this fine Sunday morning?
Good, man. Aloha.
Aloha. How we doing,
Yeah,
bud?
absolutely. There's a lot of Hawaiians watching the show, and we appreciate that. I see the numbers. There are some people in Hawaii watching. There's about 4 or 5. Hey, yes, absolutely.
Aloha.
And mahalo.
Drinks.
Yeah, but I'm infatuated with Hawaii. I love it. So each show I'll say aloha, but I'm doing pretty well.
I'm gonna put Hawaii for sure on my destination. I definitely need
put it in Hawaii 5-0 or something. This show.
But as always, we got another fantastic episode. Rookie camp has started, and we are now in the midst of things. The rookies have reported, and we also had a rookie game that came and went with the New York Rangers, 2 of them, in fact. One of them, our Lord and Savior, Matvei Michkov, took place in. But we're going to get into that a little bit later. Rookies are here. Some guys stood out, some guys not so much. I'm going to start with you, Jamey. What stood out to you in rookie camp so far?
Well, I'm going to be honest. Obviously, Matvei Michkov. Obviously, he's number 1, right? I thought, Carson Bjarnason has stood out, in a great way. I think he's back to the, level he was, possibly like a few years ago. So I think he's really turned a corner here, and he needed a good camp, and he's got one. Another one that needed a good camp, needed a good rookie series, was Samu Tuamala. He has to impress. He told us, was it Thursday, that he wants to crack the Flyers lineup in some way. He wants to crack the roster. It doesn't mean he wants to. Of course, he wants to make it opening night, but he wants to make the team. Be that call up in case of an injury, if the Flyers need so. So he needed a good camp. Surprisingly, I'm going to be honest, there's one who surprises me the most, and that's Sawyer Bolton. The Flyers are going to have to be physical. They need guards for Maffey. You want to take a run at Maffey, fine, but he's going to be guarded. Sawyer Bolton has had a really, really good rookie camp. He was very physical. He had about 7 or 8 hits, 7 or 8 good hits on Friday night alone. He needed a good camp, and he's really impressing in a good way. Maybe an ELC in the future. Who knows? You never know. You never know with the camp invites and these calls. He could go to Reading, could go to the Phantoms, could come to the Flyers for that matter. Who knows? But he's really impressing in a way. But I think that there are some defensemen that have stood out. I like Oliver Bonk. Oliver Bonk has played very well, but also Emil Andre. Emil Andre took hit after hit. He must have been Travis Ballinghoff, who's a great person for Nasty Knuckles. He was credentialed as well. We sat next to each other and we talked about it. It's like Andre took like 7 or 8 good hits. I mean, really good hits where he was like limping at times from taking these hits. He takes the hit and gets right up, and he just bounces back in a way. I know at times he struggled a bit yesterday, but that's okay. Overall, he's had a really good camp, and he needed it. One who battled through, and this is why I'm calling him out, Ethan Sampson. He didn't have the best, game on Friday, but he stuck with it and actually started to look like the player he was towards the latter part of the game there. I thought that was quite impressive. He took a bad penalty, but it's okay. He came back and, tried to make an imprint. He had a turnover. Fortunately, Barney, was there to scoop it up, but he started to play well in that third period. So hopefully that's good news for him coming forth, because the Phantoms are going to lean on, Ethan a lot this year, especially. But there's one draftee that I wanted to talk about because I think he needs to be talked about, is Spencer Gill. I mean, this guy, he's a baller. He's a baller. I'll just keep it like that. I never knew how physical he was until I watched him in person on Friday. Watching him, he grabbed a Ranger by the throat. I mean, legit by the throat, like the Undertaker. I thought he was going to lift him up and then do the tombstone. I thought that was kind of that's something I haven't seen, from Gill, in the past, and that was kind of neat. And I think he needs to be called out because his hustle and determination saved an empty net goal. which would have been the eventual, game winner before they went into overtime there, before Massimo Reza was scored. Spencer Gill hustled about halfway through the ice. Guy had an open clear shot. Yeah, I forget what player it was. That's why I say Guy, from the Rangers. And he was about to do a backhander. Spencer Gill, did a little bit of a little cross check, hit him in the back. He fell, lost control of the puck. And then the horn sounded. So I thought that was great determination by Spencer, because it would have been 4-2 as opposed to 3-3, heading into the overtime. Of course, we know the Rangers won in overtime, but nonetheless, I think those people deserve to be mentioned. And, let's see how everything goes from here on out. Jet Luchenko is another, obviously. He's very fast. He's determined. He's poised. Elliot Desnoyers needed a good, rookie camp. He had a good game on Friday. Lappy, gave him kudos on Friday to us in his post-game presser, commended, Desnoyers. But yeah, I mean, those players, I think, deserve a lot of kudos for how they played this weekend.
I'm going to piggyback a little bit on some of the guys you mentioned. Spencer Gill, for example, definitely a guy who plays the body. I watched him a little bit. I watched a few clips of him, not just in training camp, but in that first game as well. Mm-hmm. Fast hustler, good with the body. He's going to be someone I feel like that maybe not, obviously not this year, but maybe a few years down the line, just relying on someone being an enforcer that can protect someone like Matvei or Konechny or Tippett or someone like that when there's a little bit of a scuffle. Plays hard, hustles every play, good hitter. Elliot Desnoyers, as you mentioned as well, was someone who has kind of regressed over the last couple of years. But he seems like he's definitely had a little bit better of a camp. He's come with a little bit of a spark. I'm not going to 100% write the book off of him yet, but I'm hoping a guy like that can build off that, because he was someone that was highly touted over the last couple of years before. It was
called the Destroyer. Called the Destroyer.
Yeah. So he called the Destroyer for a reason, for sure. Yeah. So I'd like to see him potentially take a step forward. Emil Adrane, as you also mentioned, he has looked like he has come as a man on a mission. Mm-hmm. He announced something too that that kind of stood out to me, that he stated last year he kind of came in a little more blind in training camp. This year he kind of knows what to expect, and I feel like he's a guy that could grow from that. He's going to be right on that bubble. I think he has a legitimate chance of potentially making this roster. I don't know for sure, because it is a log jam, the defensive end. But even if he doesn't, he could be so that you could call up maybe a third or halfway through the year. You move a guy like Ristolainen out, and it gives you an opening for that 5th to 6th defenseman spot. I want to see him really try to push for it more. He's someone who's been in this system for a handful of years now. He's been considered, maybe the second best defensive prospect behind Oliver Bonk. He plays a game smart. He doesn't seem like he's someone who makes a lot of mistakes in his own game. So he's someone I definitely have been keeping my eye on as well. And then we're going to go with the big guns. Obviously, Matvei has looked like a human highlight reel since he appeared. He's looked absolutely ridiculous. We're going to go into the game a little bit. In a little bit, we'll talk about some of the plays and moves that he made then. But even during practice, he made one snipe right over Bjornstrom's glove. That was absolutely gross. I look at it, it's like, this guy's got a lethal shot at the age of 19. Wait till he hits his prime at 24, 25 years old, when other parts of his game are starting to clean up and mesh. This is a kid that's just going to be worth it in the long haul. Yeah. Like I said, I've been high on him. I think he's going to have over a 50-point year this year. I'm not going to scream that he's going to be a point-per-game guy, but I could see him somewhere in the mid-50s when it's all said and done. And I think he's already showing that. His puck handling is ridiculous. He made a one-handed tuck goal on a short-handed breakaway, too, that just had my jaw drop. It was a play. Someone on Twitter had it posted, but it was a play from early, few days before rookie camp started, when he was skating with Konechny and Tippett and the rest of the regulars, that he made this beautiful one-handed tuck. He had another play where he did a cross-ice feed to Konechny where he just tapped it in. It was a play on the rush that really stood out to me. So, Matvei's already looking like he belongs here. And then obviously Luchenko. Each day more and more we're seeing why they picked this kid at number 13 overall. obviously me and you at the time, we were very critical as well as 90% of the Flyers fan base. But each day more and more, I'm watching this kid, and he proves me more and more wrong each and every day. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say he's their second best prospect. I think you could have him ahead of Bonk. You could have him ahead of Zavargin. Kolosov, if he ever comes over. I don't think people would look at you crazy saying that this kid is considered their second best prospect. He moves left to right on a dime like that. His skating is absolutely ridiculous. He has a breakneck speed. It's absolutely fantastic. They paired him with Matvei, not just in rookie camp, but during that first first rookie game as well. And he looked like he fit like a glove with him. Now, obviously, I want to see how he plays without Matvei on his line. Could it look a little different? Maybe a little bit of regression? Sure. But he definitely looks like someone who is head and above the large majority of the prospects here, outside of Matvei and maybe Oliver Bonk. He definitely looks like someone that is going to belong here sooner rather than later. I don't think he's going to crack the team this year, obviously. But I think it's a better chance than we originally thought. Maybe in his age 19, 20 season, we could talk about it a little more, where he could be sniffing it. Where originally I thought this guy was going to be like a three-year project. I might be bringing that to a 1 to 2 year project now. He looks like he really belongs with this team. There was other guys, obviously, that stood out a little bit as well. Hunter McDonald. He's a guy who's battling for one of those defenseman spots. He plays the game with some grit. I like that about him. He really showed it quite a bit as well. So there's a lot of prospects that kind of stood out, but those are the main ones that really blew up. I mean, really opened my eyes a little bit. But and obviously the goalie position is interesting too. Kolosov unfortunately did not show. It looks like he's going to spend a year in the KHL yet again, and they're going to toll his contract. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But I feel like the Flyers' goaltending pool is in good hands with Bjornstrom and Zavargin. So they got two really good goalies still to come. So do I hope Kolosov eventually comes over? Yes. But am I as worried as I was, say, a couple months ago about the goaltender position in the long haul? No. Because like I always say, always be drafting goalies.
Yeah, you can never have too many, that's for sure. I wanted to make a point about Desi. It was interesting that Denoyer, during his presser on Friday before the game, he said that he felt off a bit from last season. He gained too much weight, and now he reduced his weight. So it's kind of interesting, that tidbit. Usually, you're trying to add muscle. Maybe he added weight in a bad way. Maybe it wasn't the muscle aspect, So
yeah, you know what? And that's sometimes. Everyone has a different body mesh that really fits for them. Yep. Some guys feel like if they add more muscle, they can play their game better from a physical perspective. Sometimes guys who add that muscle, they get away from what works out for them, having better speed or be able to move laterally, be able to stick handle a little better. Stuff like that stands out. So I definitely think that maybe this ends up giving him the jolt he needs, losing a little bit of weight and adding a little bit to his speed.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Looking forward, seeing how he plays and whatnot. So it'd be interesting. Hold on one sec.
So, yeah, but I will say this at the end of the day. I think the rookie pool, or the rookies in general, looked good. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. But yeah, let's move on to that. To the first rookie game, because I feel like that's the one we're going to talk about more. I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch too much of the second one, so I'm going to leave that in your hands a little bit. Flyers lost this game 4-3, but there were a lot of positives to take out of this game. Obviously, Matvei looked fantastic, and he put up the second goal, but this is a game that was kind of back and forth. Rangers potted the first one. Flyers scored the next two. Rangers got the next two after that to go up 3-2 before Rizzo tied the game in the weaning seconds, sending the game to overtime, where inevitably the Flyers rookies did lose the game in a shootout. But again, there was some things that stood out. Let's start with the Matvei goal, because that's going to be something we need to talk about. So we got a clip here about Matvei Michkov's first goal. We're going to play it for you guys, and then we're going to break it down a little bit. So let's take a look at this clip.
took Soku off the power play.
So
Gotta
we'll
love
look
it.
at this play. Jamey, what stands out to you about this Matvei goal?
Oliver Bonk. Oliver Bonk took that massive hit along the boards there to make the play. He pushed the puck down low. He got obliterated against the boards. After watching that clip over and over and over again, I can't believe how much he got bulldozed. If you show it again, can you show it again real quick?
Let's watch that one more time because it's pretty
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful anyway, but let's watch it.
We took Soku off the power play.
He bounced right back up. It was unbelievable. But what I saw was,
a bit of shot against the boards. Yeah,
no, that's what I mean. But that's what the Flyers top brass want to see. They want to see, you determined. They want to see you putting your body in such a way to where you're not getting injured. And he did a great job at that. He knew he was going to have to take, a massive hit. That's what the Rangers are. Even the rookies, they're very physical. You saw it the whole game. There probably was like at least 40 hits apiece, for the Flyers and Rangers. That's how physical this game was. It seemed like everybody was vying for a spot. So that's why it was so physical. I don't remember a rookie game being this physical. Last year was a little physical, but not like this. This was, like you look at that hit, typically you don't see that at a rookie game, but he shielded himself. He knew he was going to take the hit, push the puck down low, gets it down low, and here's Matvei, determined, and he pokes the puck home. But that's what he does. He does these little poke checks. I didn't realize how good he was with his stick reach. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like he made, even back checking, he put his stick in the position. I didn't realize how long, his arm length was, to even do that, because he's only, 5'10". So I didn't expect the length of his arms. Of course, the stick size has to fit him, but he's so good with his stick. He puts it in such a way. He's determined. And that was determination on that goal. He stuck with it, and that's what Torts wants to see. Okay, NHL level. Is he going to take a hit or two there? Yeah, he knows it. He don't care. That's the thing about it. He doesn't care. He goes behind the net. Look at him skating around behind the net there. We'll get into that later. He loves being behind the net. That's his niche. That's his bread and butter right there. That's a greasy goal. When was the last time you saw, like Flyers, like hovering around, poking pucks, and stuff, willing to take the hit, aside from like TK? TK takes a lot of them. He gets obliterated at times himself. But that's what the Flyers top brass was there to see. They wanted to see that type of play, and he did it. They know he has scoring finesse. They know he's, a very talented player, but they wanted to see a greasy goal, and they got it. And for that to be his first goal, I thought that was kind of impressive. And you saw his emotion. He wanted that goal. That he told us, after the game, that was for his family. That goal meant so much, not only to him, but for his mom and brother. They were both there in attendance upstairs. That goal was for them. And he got teary-eyed and choked up, in the presser, about that. But you see how much this game means to not only him. When he said it earlier at his initial press conference, that this game means a lot to him, but not only him, but his family. You saw that Friday night with how he was talking about his family and stuff. That this game, he lives, eats, and breathes the sport of hockey. He's probably out there right now finding a sheet of ice, even in 100-degree heat. He'll, not only at the skate zone, but he'll go in his yard somehow and make, some ice or something. This dude, he is unlike any other athlete that we've seen here in the Flyers uniform in some time.
There is a reason why John Tortorella has already given him the nickname as the Mad Russian, because this guy is like a walking robot who lives, breathes, and dies the sport of hockey. He's not one of those dudes that I have a feeling whenever he gets that massive payday a few years down the line, he's not going to be one of those dudes that packs in. He's just going to play harder and harder and harder. It's not about the money for a guy like him. It's about playing the game that you love and growing the sport just as a whole around what you can provide to it. And his game is absolutely incredible. What stood out to me about that goal, I'm going to piggyback off of you a little bit, was how he was just poking at that puck. It was a nice, greasy battle right at the front of that type of goal where this guy was just showing his determination to finish this play. It was a quote-unquote broken play, as some people call it, but I wouldn't call it that. I would call it a play that you make something out of nothing. There was a puck that was loose, and he found a way to bury it. And that's something that, watching his highlights and his plays out in Sochi, he did that quite often. He had a handful of goals like that, or he found a way where the puck is just loose within that 10-foot radius in front of the net, or he found a way to put the puck in the back of the net and grease piles like that. Yeah. Now, one of the big things about Matvei that stands out to me the most about this offseason is the fact that he put on almost 15 pounds. He already played the game a lot bigger than what his size indicates. He was only residing in at about 176 pounds going into the end of last year, I believe. He's up to 190 now, and I'm sure a lot of that is muscle. So this guy is now going to be able to add that extra 15 pounds of frame to play his style, where he's going to be beating and batting at the puck in front of the net. He's going to be able to pretty much use his weight to battle off a lot of these guys, draped all over him, winning those puck battles against the boards, doing a lot of things that don't get noticed in the stat sheet. He's a motor. This guy is a legitimate motor that just keeps finding an extra gear. Yeah. When a play seems like it's broken, he's going to make something out of it. Yeah. There's a loose puck, 4 times or not, he's going to come up with it. Yeah. You mentioned with his reach for the puck, that's something that stands out too. That's going to go a long way, having those extra 4 or 5 that reach in the puck, winning those type of battles. Like Matvei's game is just it's mind-blowing. This guy is just a human computer. His IQ, in my opinion, is the thing the most that stands out to me about his game. Because he sees plays before they break and before they happen, it seems like.
How many times have you heard Torts say, I want players that want the puck. This kid wants the puck. I mean, you saw Friday night, his puck pursuit. He bodies a few Rangers. I mean, he hits too. That's crazy. He had like 3 or 4 hits, 3 or 4 good hits. One of them, a Ranger lost the puck. He lofted, the puck. He tried to bounce the puck off the goaltender, for a goal on the opposite corner. I thought that was probably the most impressive part of the game. I was like, oh, he wants it. He wants the puck. His puck pursuit is, you can't teach that. It's something you can't teach, that drive. He's got the drive and determination. And that, to me, I was like, wow. We knew he was fast. I mean, you see clips. You've watched him. He's much faster than what the media, and some other media members, give him clout for. I think we all know that by now. But his puck pursuit, it really stood out on Friday.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of puck pursuit, we have a defensive play that really stood out too. We want to show this back check clip that he made as well. Let's take a look at this as well, because this is something that stands out to me.
Yeah.
So what's so good about this? One of the big things that people would bring up a lot was his defensive liability. People thought that he didn't play a lot of defense. He would hang by the blue line or the red line, waiting for a play to develop. And this just shows plays like that show a long way that this guy is going to play the defensive style of the game. Watch this again.
Yeah.
It's a great back. It's a small, simple play like that, but the fact that he comes back on the play, makes a back check like that, and it doesn't get talked about. It's the little things like that John Tortorella is going to rate. He's going to go up to Matvei when he comes back on the bench, give him a pat on the shoulder and be like, that's the way you fucking go after the puck. Yeah. That's how you make a play. That's how you earn your ice time out there. That stuff, little things like that. It was a small play.
Alex.
Little 5-second clip, but it goes a long way. And the thing about Matvei's game is it's going to lead to drives the other way. He's going to lead to rushes the other way. He's such a force on the offensive end that if you can provide a defensive game like that, on top of that, it's going to be terrifying what this guy is going to be like when he hits his prime. The motor he has is absolutely ridiculous. And it's going to go a long way. I think And another thing was, it seemed like him and Luchenko had instant chemistry. It was something that really stood out about me in that first game is how it felt like they knew what each other was doing before it even accumulated. And I think that just goes to add on to Matvei's IQ. Luchenko looks a lot better than what I thought he was going to be at this stage of his career. We need to talk about him a little bit because him and Matvei seem like they go together like bread and butter. And maybe 3 years down the line, when Luchenko is, accustomed here, I don't know if he'll be instantly put on Matvei's line, but when you put a guy with that type of speed and skill in the offensive end that can keep up with a guy with Matvei's IQ and skill, it's going to be terrifying to have a 1-2 punch like that going down the ice, which is what John Tortorella has kind of established this team's identity, has been attacking off the rush. So two guys like that, with maybe a guy with the cannons of like Owen Tippett, that could be one of the most terrifying offensive lines in the NHL when all three of these guys are consistently in their prime. It's going to be something to watch for sure. But I think Luchenko, he really impressed me on Friday night for sure.
Yeah. I love Luchenko. I thought that, that line, obviously, with him and, Michkov and Dinoyer, thought they did very well. And they set the tone for the game, in my opinion. They were reeling, for the first 5 to 10 minutes of the opening stanza. Mm-hmm. And after the first shift, it looked like Mitchie was pretty pissed at himself. It looked like Luchenko wasn't too happy with, how that first shift came about or originated. But after that, they just had time of possession in the Ranger zone for at least, close to a minute at a time. It was like every time they stepped foot on the ice, they were making plays. They didn't get the, fortunate bounce, that typically teams see, with that much puck possession time in their own zone. But you had Luchenko. He's another, his puck pursuit was very good. He was determined. He's speedy. He looked like he had that scoring prowess. He wasn't just looking for Maffei. He was, just trying to make plays and trying to, with that scoring finesse. And that's why I want him to go back to the OHL. I want him to learn, more offensively. That alone, the other aspects of his game, he played in every situation and he played it well. His stick is also pretty good. He played the penalty kill. He was on the power play. I want him to go back to learn how to put the puck in the back of the net. And that's something that I think the Flyers, need. And, they don't, they have tons of playmakers, but they need scoring finesse. You could add Michkov, Forster, and then you could add Luchenko to that list, possibly. I think they'd be a force to be reckoned with. And that's what I want him to go. That's the only reason I want him, not get a 9-game tryout. I don't want a 9-game tryout. Want him to have a full season down in the OHL, and that's one of the reasons is his offensive skills.
I tend to agree with that. I as much as I like the way he showed up, I think his development is accelerated a year, but not this year. I originally looked at him as a 3-year project. I kind of look at more closer to a 2-year now. Let this guy marinate a little more in the OHL, develop more of a shot, have another great year to build confidence off of and kind of mesh your game and improve your game a little bit. In the 2025-26 season, he gets that 9-game tryout. See how he runs. 2026-27, that's when I want you to take the training wheels off this guy and full speed ahead. I want to see him crack the opening night roster by 2026-27. Don't rush this kid. You've got something with him. He's definitely going to be worth it in the long haul. You've got Matvei here. It's already a little bit of a log jam in the offensive with their forward core anyway. There's not really much room anyway. So you're going to have to give him at least another year or two, I believe, but not only just for him to develop, but some openings in this roster to pretty much present themselves, just so it will be a little more of a smoother transition when he gets here. So he's not battling with an unfair advantage of a veteran who may already have the spot potentially locked up. But yeah, with that being said, let's move on to the current team real quick. We talked about quite a bit with with the rookies. I think they played excellent. Do you have anything you want to add before we do that? Actually, do you have anything you want to add from night 2? Did anything stand out for you from the second night? Because I didn't really watch too much of the second night game, so I'm gonna leave this to your expert opinion for that.
I love the battling by Andre. He for the first 2 periods he seemed to struggle. Had a costly turnover there, but I like him battling back. That's what I want to see. I want to, you're not necessarily trying to make you're trying to make an impression, but you got to do it in the right way. There's got to be some struggling, and because you're going to go through some adversity at the NHL level, the AHL level. It doesn't matter, and that's what I think it's impressive that he fought through some adversity through the first 2 periods and put together a really, really good third period, and eventually he had that assist on the game winner to Samu. He stuck with it. That's what you want, and I think that's what Tort's vision is. You're going to struggle, and he knows it. He wants you to struggle. Like Tyson Fortzer, he battled his offensive wits for the first 10 or 11 games, last season. He stuck with him. Why? Because he was playing good defensively. He knew eventually the tides would turn, offensively. If he just stuck with who he is as a person, you send him back or you bench him, that will kill his confidence. And every time he struggles, you're going to bench him. You want him to fight through that. He fought through it. And look, Tyson put forth a really good rookie season. So I saw in the middle Andre fight through, battled hard, took some heavy hits the night before, took heavy hits again, and still put forth a solid game, in my opinion. That's what I wanted. I wanted to see. It gives you confidence. All you're trying to do during rookie camp in these games, you're trying to develop confidence for training camp, because that's where the big impression is going to be. Now, when the big club is on the ice and whatnot, you want to see some struggling. And he struggled and battled, and he's played well. So I thought that stood out. And Samu Tuomaala finally to cash in. He could have had at least 2 goals. The Rangers goalie played very well, on Friday night, as well. And Samu was right there knocking on the door, snake bit. It's kind of ironic because there was a Finn in the back who had a Tuomaala jersey on in the crowd on the lower bowl there.
I think I've seen that. There was a picture of that you put up, right?
Yeah. It was kind of neat. Yeah, it was kind of fitting because he actually put forth 2 really good games. So I don't know if, maybe that was a family member, but he was hanging around, down there before the game started and stuff. So we didn't get a chance to talk to Samu on Friday night when I was there. So I don't know if that was a family member or, a relative or a friend, for that matter, that was wearing his jersey down there. But nonetheless, I thought it was pretty fitting.
You know what? It's always good to have that little bit of extra support from
and Barney. And Barney played very well again.
He was solid. He definitely. Samu Tuomaala is someone I think that's going to be one of the final decisions for this roster. I tend to agree with that. But speaking of the main roster, let's move on to that for our final topic of the day. 2024-25 season. Opening night is 26 days away. It's crazy how quickly it has come and gone. A month from now, we'll be talking about regular season games and hopefully having a good start to the year. So I want to bring up one little interesting tidbit, and I'm going to start with you on this one. What are the keys for the Flyers to have a successful 2024-25 season?
The main key is goaltending. I don't care what it is. Goaltending is absolutely at the top of the list for me. If they don't get off to a good start there, it's going to be a little dicey and shaky. They need to get off to a good start, much like last season. Carter Hart kept them in a lot of games there. Hey, I hate to keep bringing his name up, but that's how good Carter Hart was until he was removed from the team. But he really, honestly, like the first month of the season, the Flyers struggled in the sense to where they finally had the goaltender steal a game. And, Flyers fans haven't seen that in years, in decades, even, he made what Carter Hart was phenomenal, until December there. I mean, they were winning games 1-0. They were winning games 2-1. They were winning games, again, 1-0. I think they won like 2 or 3 games 1-0 or something, or something crazy.
They won 1-0. He had a shutout in.
I mean, like he just stood on his head, night after night. And, he didn't face the most shots because, that was one of Torch's things. He wanted to block shots, make them miss, and he did. I mean, he was only facing, in his defense, 25 to 28 shots, per night, which was way down from the years prior to where he was facing like 35 to 40 per night, so the defense was far better. I think this is the best Flyers defense that overall that they've had in some time, even with the healthy Rasmus, coming back. But the defense finally looks like stabilized, right? I mean, you no longer, have plug-in, defensemen. You no longer have like 20 defensemen that you don't know who's going to play and are in and out, on a nightly basis. Oh, what's the back end going to look like? And you have two staples, and then the rest are like, oh, you don't know. So I think that that helps the goaltending as well. That's where I'm getting at. Having a healthy, core in front of you in terms of the Flyers core forward level. I think that they're solid at the forward position. They're weak down the middle. Yeah, or struggling a bit down the middle, but overall on the wing, I think they look good. And the goaltending is gonna really dictate on how the season will go. But the second biggest key for me, and this is where I think I'll just leave it here, is the power play. They have to have their penalty kill will come along, and it did at times. Last year looked really good, and they got better as the year wore on, up until like that last 8 or 9 games there, to where it just like seemed nothing was working, and stuff. But the power play has to improve. It has to. The power play could dictate the Flyers season. If they don't improve the power play, they will not make the playoffs. If they're not in the middle of the pack by like 16, 15 there, maybe as far as 20, I'll go as low as 20. That's it. If they're 21 to 32, they're not going to make the playoffs. They have to have an adequate power play. In today's day, NHL, you have to take advantages of the chances you're given. And if you cannot, you're not a good team. You're not an average team. You're a far below team, in my opinion. They have to have, your special teams has to be there. And the Flyers have been bottom feeders on the power play with the man advantage for God knows how long, for years. And it's just a shame. It really is, because this team, is talented in areas to where they actually have a defined top 6. They should be far better than the numbers, actually, show. But, they're just, I don't know. They just can't finish on the power play. It's, they didn't have a net front presence last year. I think the loss of JVR hurt in that realm, with not having a net front presence. They have to establish a net front presence, but they also had trouble with zone entries. And I think that's where the skill of Matvei will come in, because we haven't seen a type of skill like him in a long time, to where he has, stick finesse. And, usually it's the Flyers playing that dump and chase, which is pretty predictable. But now you add Matvei on the other side. It's like, oh, are they going to dump and chase, or is he going to take the puck in himself? So might make, the other 4, defensively think a thing or two. Oh, they're not doing dump and chase. Oh, he's taking the puck in. We haven't had that type of player in a long time, but there was one player that the Flyers have been missing in that realm, has been Jake Voracek. Since they moved on from Jake Voracek. Jake Voracek was very good with zone entries. He was very hard to take the puck off of, and that's why I think Matvei adds that element that the Flyers haven't had in a few years.
I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of you. So I got 3 points, and 2 of them the exact same that you just mentioned. I'm going to start with the power play, as you just mentioned. They were ranked dead last each of the last 3 years on the power play, and that's not coincidental. Their zone entries have been borderline atrocious. That has been their biggest issue. They need a net front presence guy, as you also mentioned. Losing JVR, I definitely think, has left something there. But not only that, it seems like on the power play, they spend over half the time just getting into the zone and setting up. And that's an issue. That is absolutely an issue. Now, having a guy like Matvei Michkov by default should help bolster that power play. But I think you look at Rocky Thompson, you got to say, this is it. You've got to show improvement with this team. Yeah. They've got to let this guy go. Like, he's 3 straight. I'm actually surprised he's still here personally. I don't wish anyone to actually get fired.
I'm same.
But the fact that you've been dead last on the power play for the last 3 years, that's unacceptable. Especially with this winger core that you have. Even before Matvei got here, Forster, Tippett, Konechny, Farabee, now you're adding Matvei. You have 5 really good wingers Like Joel Farabee is probably going to be that third line left winger, and he's a top 6 winger on 80% of the teams in the NHL easy. So I look at this, the power play has to improve. I think Drysdale is going to be a big key in this, being the quarterback of this team. And, you mentioned Jake Voracek back in the days when they actually had a significantly good power play. They seemed like they had the perfect keys of success. You had guys like Voracek, who was hard to take the puck off of, as you mentioned, able to get the puck into the zone. You had a guy like Giroux, who had that bolstering one-timer from the left side. You had a guy, whether it be Gossis Bear or Akimo Timonen, who could help generate plays from the point constantly, being that power play quarterback. You had a guy like Wayne Simmons, who is arguably, if not the best power forward net front presence in the entire NHL when it came to the power play. This guy lived in front of the goalie, whether it came to redirecting plays, screening the goalie, picking up the loose pucks off the rebound. They had what felt like a perfect setup. You had Braden Shen there in that
great points. Great points, Silver. Yeah,
going for the 1-Ts. And guys like Giroux, who consistently win faceoffs, so they didn't have to worry about entering the zone. Yeah. You've got to find the right combination of guys for this now. You have the talent. It's about formulating the scheme where everyone is in a comfortable position to make the power play work. You need a guy like Drysdale who can lead this team to be a consistent power play guy. You need a guy like Michkov who can bolster off one-timers from the sideboards. You need a guy who can really be a legitimate net front presence. Who that is yet, we'll see. It could be Couturier. Could be there's a few options. Could be Couturier. You could maybe throw Frost maybe in that one-timer slot spot. There's a lot of options for what this team has, but they've got to find some consistency in the power play. You cannot go into this, as you mentioned, with a team near the bottom of the league of the power play again. They have to be top 20. I think you hit the hammer on the nail there. This team needs to be in the 15-20 range, bare minimum. I will give them 20 because that would be a significant improvement. They were, about 14% on the power play last year? That's unacceptable. Yeah. You can't have that in today's NHL. You need to be hovering in the high teens, low 20s. 1 out of every 5 power plays needs to result in a goal. As you mentioned as well, goaltending. Goaltending is going to be huge this year. You have 2 goalies that aren't really quote-unquote proven. Sam Ersson looked good in the first maybe 60% of the year last year before the wheels fell off. And I don't put it all on him. The guy was a rookie. He was
I agree.
He was not ready for, when Carter Hart ended up getting removed from the team, he started getting about 80+% of the starts. And before that, he was getting probably about roughly 40% of them, where they had a good mesh with him and Carter. Things were working out. He wasn't getting run into the ground. Both guys are playing good. This team's goaltending was a strength. I think they had a top 10 goalie duo in the NHL until Carter Hart got kicked off the team. Deservedly so. But now you have a situation where Ersson's probably going to be playing a little bit more. But how much is Fedotov proven? Now, at the end of last year, he got thrown into a rough situation, so I'm kind of writing that off. He got thrown in the middle of a playoff push with a break in between KHL and NHL action into a league he's never played in before. Now he's had a whole offseason to probably get more accustomed to the NHL style of play. He's had a whole offseason to get used to his team, whole offseason to really just get used to, being just in the city of Philadelphia in general. That's going to be a key. Yeah. This duo needs to be at least respectable. I'm not asking them to be what they were last year or what the Hart-Ersson duo was last year. But if this duo, like the power play, can be top 15, top 20 in the league, this team definitely has a shot at making the playoffs. Because the penalty kill is super. And it's crazy to say that after years of infamy on the penalty kill. Yeah. But their penalty kill is very good. They were top 5 all year last year. They led the league in shorthanded goals. Yeah. I think they ended, 4th or 5th last year in the kill. Even though it kind of weaned off the tracks a little bit in the last month. The last month, the last 8 to 11 games, it really hindered them. But and to your defense, with the power play, you constantly, you're on. You go from the power play, then you take a bad penalty, and then eventually you're on the PK. It's a hard transition there, hard transcription. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah. So, as long as their PK can do what they've been doing,
Mhm.
Keep doing what you're doing. But the last point I want to add, and this isn't something that has been mentioned, but this hindered them last year. This team needs to stay durability.
Yeah.
They got killed with injuries in the second half of the year. That entire D-core was pretty much down to Sanheim and York, and both of them were playing hurt as well. Let's be honest here. York,
Yeah.
not even close to 100%. Sanheim said he was playing through something, but not as bad as what York was. Drysdale missed some time, and when he came back, he wasn't quite 100%. He played through the sports hernia. Ristolainen missed the last 40% of the season, plus he missed a little bit at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Nick Sealer, I think he had the broken foot. He missed a little over a month. So this team needs to stay durable. And it's kind of hard when you're sending these guys to block shots constantly. That's how Nick Sealer ended up getting hurt last year.
Yeah.
But they have got to make sure this team does not get killed with the injury bug again. Now, obviously, there's only so much of that you can control with the way the sport of hockey is. You're blocking shots, you're taking off, it's against the boards. But if they do seem to lose guys to injury, the guys are going to need to step up. Whoever they send in is going to need to find a way to step up, at least to be a temporary fill-in.
The good thing is they have Adam Jennings returning. They have, possibly Hunter McDonald, being that, seventh, eighth, guy there, possibly, assuming that Igor Zamula's the sixth. So they have some people, in Lehigh that could step in, and give them a temporary measure, until, X, Y, and Z gets healthy on the defensive end. And they haven't, I don't think they've been this stocked in a while, defensively there. So I think that's kind of cool.
They can't, long story short, they can't be having guys like Mark Stahl, who's now gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And Eric Johnson be running second pairing minutes.
Yeah.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that hopefully this team can stay off the injury plague. There's going to be injuries in general. We know it's going to happen. But hopefully it's not like what it was last year. Hopefully they can stay more durable. That's my closing point about what I think would lead to a successful season for them. But before we wrap things up, Jamey, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to let fans know that Denver Barkey's still recovering from his illness. The Flyers are being very precautious. They're not overworking him and stuff, and that's why you didn't see him, for the rookie series. I've been getting a lot of, questions about surrounding Barkey and whatnot, and that's one reason they're being very cautious with Carter Sutherland as well, who's also recovering from, an illness as well. So, but in particular, I just want people, Barkey, hopefully, will be ready to go by training camp. I did see him on Friday passing by us when they all the scratches, the healthy scratches and the illnesses and injury guys, were walking by. Barkey was lively as he always is, just smiling, laughing. So that's good news. He didn't really look sick to me. So I think they're just being precautious, which is the right thing to do. And, during rookie camp when main training camps, knocking on the door here. So I think they did the right thing by holding him out.
I agree. Don't take a chance with stuff like that. You want him to be 100% for the season. But with the little Barkey update we just got, with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate you all. Another great week, Jamey. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you
guys next week for another installment of Flyera Gonna Flyera. We're going to have two guests next week. We were supposed to have our buddy Noah come on. Unfortunately, he had something come up, so he's going to be pushed back to next week. We're also going to have a friend of mine called Filibuster. He'll be on as well. So we're going to have four of us next week. And we look forward to it. But with all that being said, take care, everyone. We look forward to having you on throughout the season. Got only 26 days till the season begins, so keep that countdown clock going. But with all that being said, let's go Flyers.